All right, y'all, let's take a final look at this one. Alexa Grasso taking on Natalia Silva. All right, y'all. So, yeah, the more and more I look at this fight, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be solid. I think it's going to be competitive. I know early on I felt like, Natalia Silva just had the style to go in here and wash Alexa Grasso. But I got to give Alexa Grasso a little bit more credit, man. I think she can make this thing a 50-50 fight. Just looking at her style in the past as far as at 115, she's really changed as a fighter. She's proven me wrong about a lot of things. Alexa Grasso has been able to evolve. She's proven that she's tougher than, she was at 115. She's pulled out her own dog. So I think Alexa Grasso, she can definitely make this a good fight. Now, looking at Natalia Silva, though, Natalia Silva, she just has this awkward style that a lot of girls aren't used to. You see a lot of punchers, you see a lot of grapplers, you see a lot of girls that like to go in there and go toe-to-toe and kind of show off their chin and put on action fights. But you rarely see somebody with like a herky-jerky taekwondo style like this that uses a lot of energy and has those wild feints and, knows how to keep you at kicking range and just throws these crazy combinations, right? So when I look at Natalia Silva, I see an awkward, fresh fighter, and that's something that Alexa Grasso might have trouble with in this fight, So the more and more I look at this thing, they both offer something that kind of offsets the other. Alexa Grasso, her boxing fundamentals are sharper and her timing is solid. But you got Natalia Silva, whose kicking range is beautiful. The way she keeps fighters at bay and the way she uses those feints. Little excessive movement sometimes, but the more and more you kind of see like the science on how she can counter you with the left hook or, throw those kicks to the face, just like that and lead with the head kick. Makes for a dangerous style matchup against Alexa Grasso, who likes to use that Mexican style of boxing, right? So it kind of leaves her open for a lot of these power shots coming. But looking at Natalia Silva first, what she needs to do, in my opinion, is keep this fight in the center of the cage. Don't dance around by the black line or by the cage, keeping her back to the cage. She needs to circle and use lateral movement in the center and keep Grasso at kicking range. Work that lead leg, tenderize that lead leg, that injured leg, work those calf kicks, and then start setting up the body kicks. So it's calf kicks, then body kicks. Valentina got off some good body kicks against Alexa Grasso. The guard is kind of high, so you can land those body kicks. And once you start working that body and those body kicks hurt, it's going to make them elbows drop, right? And when them elbows drop, head kick is there, right? So I think, one thing about Natalia Silva is she really needs to use the calf kick, and the side kick is like her own jab. It's like her own jab besides the regular jab, but she needs to use those kicks as her range finder and her jab to open up the head kick or even the right hand upstairs. Another thing, she needs to jab Alexa Grasso to the pit of the stomach. That high guard is there, but you can always touch that body on Alexa Grasso. That's one of her openers. But also the head too. It's there. The head kicks. If she continues to break the guard with some good hard kicks on the arms, she can go straight up the middle with combinations. Because Viviana Araújo, she was landing some good shots on Grasso. So Grasso, even though she has good boxing fundamentals, she can be hit because sometimes she likes to go to war with them shots. She wants to see whose boxing is better. So I think it's important that Natalia Silva, she kind of mixes it up to the body with kicks and then split that guard with them shots upstairs and just keep it in the center. Keep it in the center. And at times, if she gets pinned against the cage, show off her strength. Show off her strength and surprise Grasso with takedowns of her own. Because I think that Natalia Silva, she has some tricks up her sleeve. We haven't seen her as a complete fighter, but she's got some tricks up her sleeve. And here and there, I think if they do clinch up, she needs to surprise Grasso and slam her a couple of times and take her down. I've seen her take down some girls before and get some quick submissions. So her jiu-jitsu is a little underrated. She just likes to do her thing on the feet. But if Grasso chooses to lock up with her, take her down real quick, maybe even get a couple of rounds in, just control it on the ground or even a few minutes and then bounce back up and just frustrate her with movement, make her find you. So I think Natalia Silva might have a few different things, just based off her speed and her kicks that could really frustrate Grasso. Now, Grasso, on the other hand, she needs to cut the cage off. She really needs to cut the cage off here and fight behind her longer jab. I think she has better timing than Natalia Silva. And, she has the fundamentals. It's been tested against Valentina, So I think switching stances is going to be important here because with the movement in Natalia Silva and how she steps to her left and to the right, she can kind of very slowly just kind of make that change to southpaw gradually, and then catch Natalia Silva moving to her left with a good right hook. Because Natalia Silva likes to move to her left sometimes, to kind of feint you and throw you off. So Grasso can kind of, wade her way in or just slide her way in and switch stances and try to catch her with the right hook So I think one thing that Grasso needs to do is really be smart with just like her range finding, just by eyeballing it, jabbing to the chest and cornering Natalia Silva to avoid, chasing all night. And once she corners her, dirty box, she's got the dirty box in there. She's got to get her with the one underhook and then start working with the right hand or vice versa, however she can get her, and just make it an ugly fight on the inside, because it's not going to be a pretty fight for Grasso if she continues to fight at a mid-range or outside range. That's not where you want to be against a taekwondo artist like that. She's got to be dirty boxing on the inside and mid-range and on the inside, because that's where I think Grasso would favor. I would favor Grasso more on the inside here, because once you take away the footwork, then you're going to see who has better upper body movement and better punch selection. Okay, Grasso, you're going to see her throw uppercuts and right hands and, throw those beautiful boxing combinations once her target is locked in, right? So it's really about her just really getting the fight cornered and taking away the legs of Natalia Silva and keeping her away from the center, all right? And even then, man, like I'm going to say this, Alexa Grasso's got to throw some kicks back. Alexa Grasso don't really throw a lot of kicks, but if she switches southpaw, maybe she can use that left leg more. I can't remember. I think it was the right leg, right? I said the right leg was broken. So she needs to maybe switch southpaw a little bit so she can throw some leg kicks of her own and surprise Natalia Silva to slow her down. But another thing, Grasso, start with the body. Start with the body. Don't headhunt somebody this fast. Start with the body and just go from there until she can chip away and, start stalking and breaking Natalia Silva down. But how I see this fight going, man, like I said, it's going to really come down to timing here. It kind of reminds me of a fight like Izzy versus Sean Strickland, because you got Sean Strickland, the more fundamental, solid, polished boxer who knows how to use their fundamentals here, versus the all-around striker that just didn't really know how to handle that timing or that powerful right hand from Sean Strickland, So I could see Grasso cornering Natalia Silva a few times and maybe getting her respect once she starts to get into a rhythm. But if Natalia Silva's speed is too much and she starts tagging early and, the movement is just too much and she's just like blinding her with combinations, I can see Natalia Silva taking it there. I can see her taking it there and just kind of blinding Grasso and maybe getting at least 2 rounds here. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Natalia Silva. Because, like I said, I think her style is just a little different than some of these girls have faced before. She's a different striker than Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina's a little bit more grounded, but Natalia's going to be moving. And once the fight gets on the inside, she does know how to hold you and tie you up to just kind of neutralize you and buy you some time, right? But, again, that could downfall her because whoever's in the more dominant position wins the round. So Natalia Silva needs to be moving and punching and working on the inside. But I think for the most part, she'll bag at least 2 rounds and she'll do it cautiously and she'll do it effectively, whether it be the first 2 rounds or the last 2 rounds here. All right. So, yeah, I got Natalia Silva winning this one by decision, y'all. What do y'all think in the comment section? Make sure y'all leave comments. Go ahead and tell me what y'all think. Hit that like button and subscribe. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Peace.